Hi, my friend. Have you ever thought, I'm destined to be a spiritual writer? If that's the case for you, then this is your video. My name is Kelly Notaris. I'm the founder of KN Literary Arts and the author of the book You Were Born to Write. I have spent the past 21 years helping authors just like you go from wherever you are to having a book in your hand. I've worked at some of the largest publishers in the US, and now I have my own company, KN Literary Arts. We are an editorial studio helping you at every stage of the book journey. So be sure to visit us at knliterary.com. All right. So you want to be a spiritual writer. I hear this a lot because the genre that I work in is what I call transformational nonfiction. We're talking about self-help, personal growth, straight up spirituality, inspirational memoir. These are books that help people grow, change, heal, discover that life is going to be okay again and how to get there. So people who come to that genre, they tend to feel transformed by it and ultimately want to use their own story in the same way, or the wisdom that they've garnered over the course of their life. And they want to become spiritual writers. But unfortunately, they often don't know the 3 keys to becoming a spiritual author. And that's what I want to teach you today. Honestly, these keys are not that different from becoming any type of author, but they are especially important if what you want to write is transformational nonfiction. Okay, let's go. The very first rule that you need to understand is that the wisdom you put forth in your book must be yours. It needs to be forged in your own experience. It may be informed by other people, but it should not be a redux of authors that you have loved who've transformed your life. Too often, I find that our clients at KN Literary come wanting to represent the ideas that they learned from people like Wayne Dyer or Glennon Doyle or any of these big spiritual authors that are out there. They want to talk about that author and how much that author's work impacted their life. They want that to be part of the book. But unfortunately, most readers who don't already know you are not going to be impressed by hearing you talk about other authors. They need to hear that you yourself have synthesized that wisdom inside of yourself and you're bringing it originally through you. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to transformational nonfiction. All of the books have basically been written before, but they have never been written from your perspective and your unique story. So please leave the references to your favorite authors at the door. I don't want them in your book. It needs to be your wisdom and your wisdom alone. The second is that you need to find out prior to writing your book whether or not your message or story have resonance with other people. So very often, authors come to me because, again, they've had an experience with a spiritual author or teacher, and they want to become that gateway for other people. It's all in such good faith. They really want to help others, but they don't realize that by the time that book landed in their hands, it had probably already been through many iterations in teachings, in sometimes blog posts, in speeches, in one-on-one work, in group work, that those ideas had been refined over time to really express their greatest resonance with other people. So other people have told that author, yes, this piece of the practice works. This story resonates with me. They've already run it through so many people. The book is kind of the last thing they do, not the first. And truth be told, spiritual writers should be teaching before they write their books. I say this because you will not know whether the methodology or stories you have resonate with people until it's too late. Once a book is in writing, it's kind of forever. That book is out there in the world and you can't pull it back. So I want you to make sure that what you're putting in there is resonant before you publish the book. So even though what I do is help people write books and I can help you at any stage of the journey, I do encourage you to do some R&D, research and development. You might call it resonance and development, to make sure that you're putting the right stories in the book. You've got the right exercises that are really going to work for people. You've got the right methodology. If you are unwilling to do that because it seems vulnerable or you don't necessarily want to put yourself out there without having a book behind you. I can understand that, and you're not alone, but I'm going to encourage you to work with that fear of exposure, of not being good enough, of maybe not deserving to teach until you have a book behind you. These are things that did not stand in the way of the great authors that you love who've inspired you. They moved forward because they were called by something inside of themselves to help people. And usually the authors who we're talking about today, who are like the biggest authors in this space, they oftentimes came along before there was self-publishing. They could not get their book published until they already had a following, because traditional publishers wouldn't take them on. So they had to workshop that material over and over and over again before they made it into a book. Today, you can publish your own book at any point in the journey. And sometimes it can be very helpful to publish it early and use that as part of the process of building your audience, but only if you've already tested your methodology or your story on a lot of people. I promise you, this is going to save you so much time and energy and effort. I want the book you put out into the world to already be known as something people are interested in, to know it works for people beyond just you. Okay. So that's the second rule of becoming a spiritual writer. Make sure you've tested your material and it resonates with other people. And the third is that it takes time and it takes effort, and I want you to be ready for the journey. So if you are somebody who identifies as a spiritual writer, you're probably on a spiritual growth path. Spiritual psychological development is part of your life. You understand that it's a path that never ends. There is no getting there. It's all part of the learning process. And I want you to think about the publication of your book, the growth of your audience, the workshopping of your material. These are all just simply the pathway that life has called you toward for your next level of growth, not necessarily even the reader, but your next level of growth. So if it feels like, oh my gosh, this sounds too long, I don't want to have to wait until I've tested my story or my material on other people before I write my book, I understand that, but consider that for whatever reason you're watching my video, you're following me, and this is my time-tested wisdom as someone who has birthed many, many books. It's better to go the long journey to make sure that you work out every piece of it before you put your book into the world. So it's going to take that kind of time and effort. The authors that you love, who you want to emulate, the people who you venerate, who have helped you in so many ways, they did not wake up one day, write a book out of the blue, and it landed in your hands. There was a very long multi-year journey to get there. They often say that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And that is nowhere more true than becoming a spiritual author. You need to be ready to put yourself out there for quite some time, build an audience, workshop your material, grow and learn as a teacher prior to putting your book in the world. I know that this is a difficult truth, but I feel like it's really important because I myself am someone who is part of a spiritual journey and a spiritual path. And I'm somebody who also is an achiever, and I want everything to happen right now, right? But I've learned sometimes the hard way over the years that the more time you're willing to give, the more surrendered you are to the process, the better the outcome when it arrives. The more helpful you will be, the more impact you're going to have in the world, and the better you're going to feel about the book you put out there. So I hope that these 3 points have helped you. If you have any questions, even if you're like, that's not what I wanted to hear, we would love to hear it in the comments. We answer all of our comments because it's so important to us to get you the information that you need. Again, I'm so happy that you decided to watch this video. I am grateful for you as a spiritual writer that you want to help people. We need you. The world needs you. And think of it as part of your own spiritual journey. And the benefit and the blessing of it is that you get to help others along the way. So with that, I will say, please visit us at KN Literary if you need any help, but know that we are rooting for you, and come back and see me next time on this YouTube channel because I always have great information to share. And in the meantime, happy writing.